Hey, how's it going? ChiefsRaysBolts here alongside, as always, A'sRaidersDubsSharks. Casey, we are here and we are about to preview the League Championship Series for Major League Baseball and the 2022 postseason. Now, all right, we'll get out of the way. What were our predictions? What do we get wrong? What do we get right? Obviously, got the NL wrong. If you're a recurring viewer and you watched last week's video, you'll remember that Casey and I both took I can't even see it. What is it? The Braves over the Phillies, and the Dodgers over the Padres, and that was the complete opposite of what happened. So how do we get here? Let's start with the Philadelphia series. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, absolute collapse from Atlanta. I mean, I thought this series was going to be closer than the Padres Dodgers one. I was wrong. And, it all comes down to the power in the Phillies lineup. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, that Phillies, because the A's played the Phillies on an opening series. And I was like, okay, that's a good lineup. Like, you got Castellanos, you got Schwarber, you have Harper, and you have good pitching as well, right? You have Nola in he's a catcher, but anyways, I just think it was, sheer dominance by Philadelphia's pitching staff. I mean, the games that were close, Philadelphia, I feel like, still outplayed the Braves. And, also, just one moment, the inside the Parker by a catcher, JT Realmuto, I didn't even know that was going to be possible to do, given the outfield that the Braves have. You have Acuna, who didn't even really try to make a play on the ball. And so that was really shocking to me. But I just think it was a big collapse by the Braves. I don't know how, they lost that. They had a good series from Travis d'Arnaud. They had a good series from Matt Olson. They had a good series from a lot of their hitters. It was just the fact that their pitching kind of gave up a lot of the games. And the power, like I said, in that Philadelphia lineup, I cannot stress it enough. Schwarber, you have, Bryce Harper had a great series, and then Castellanos. And it's just, they weren't going to be stopped. And I thought they were going to lose. I mean, I think the Braves, on paper, are probably a lot better of a team. I just think Philly is extremely hot right now. They were hot to end this, and they were very hot in the wild card. So, that's kind of what I think on it.
Well, I mean, you look at the scores, the 4 games that were played. They scored 7 runs in the first game to win. They got shut out in the second game, which was a little weird. But then they followed that up in Game 3 with 9 runs and a 9-1 win. And then they ended up winning the final game of the series, Game 4, to clinch the next round with a score of 8-3. So, I mean, they're scoring 8, 9, 7... at least 7 runs in 3 of these 4 games. That is a ridiculously hot offense. To be able to do that consistently in the playoffs, that's a dangerous team. You look at the Braves, I don't really know what happened. I mean, they weren't necessarily bad on offense. I mentioned the Phillies had 7 runs in Game 1, but they only won by 1 run. That was a 7-6 final. The Braves were scoring runs. The Phillies were just scoring more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just think the Braves, they look great in their first series. The Phillies did too. And I think it's the kind of thing, it's like, I said it before, who's hot right now? It's the Phillies, right? Their offense is, I think, borderline unstoppable. And I mean, we're seeing right now in the NLCS, and I know we're, a little bit into that series already, just, going ahead a tiny bit. Their offense, when facing pitching that isn't ace pitching, when they're, facing a guy like, I don't know, Blake Snell, for example, they're going to do good. He's a good pitcher, but, it's a kind of thing where they're good at tacking on runs on pitchers that aren't necessarily your, 100% ace top tier pitcher. And I think that's what they did against the Braves. The Braves have a good pitching staff. They have Max Fried, right? They have good relievers. They have good pitchers in general. But I feel like for the Phillies, it was taking advantage early that got those pitchers out of the lineup. They were taken out, and they weren't able to go deep in games that they needed to. I mean, in the playoffs, you have to go deep in games if you're a starting pitcher, especially if you're an ace, and that just didn't really happen, and they struggled. So, yeah.
So the Phillies are now playing the Padres. Let's talk a little bit about their series now against the Dodgers. Are we surprised? Because I'm a little bit surprised. I had the Dodgers winning the whole damn thing this year. You got the pennant. Casey, I saw that you were at that final clinching game for the Padres, weren't you? I saw that on TV, man. I was watching that live. Those Padres fans were going crazy. It was ridiculous. I'd never seen such...
It was crazy. I've been to one postseason game in my life before that. It was the A's Rays game. as you remember probably watching that as well. And, it was a great atmosphere. There were actually more people at the Oakland game, but besides the point, that Padres atmosphere was insane. I mean, just the fact that Padres, are not a perennial playoff team,
They've been
and to
waiting a long
host a
time for this moment, long time. And so it's very understandable that they were as crazy as they were.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, they're also playing a team that they've hated for years and years, the Dodgers, a team that, most of the league hates, right? But for them, it's more deep rooted. They're a division rival. And interestingly enough, of course, the Dodgers won that division pretty easily. The Dodgers had the best record in baseball. They looked unstoppable. And what we saw from the Dodgers was, an absolute downfall. The Dodgers bats were pretty quiet in this series. Of course, game one, I think 3 games in the series finished 5-3 in some capacity, which I think is kind of funny. Game one was good by the Dodgers, but then you go to the next 3 games, and man, that in San Diego pitching, Josh Hader I know he struggled in the regular season a bit. He was unstoppable as a closer, and their starting pitching, Joe Musgrove struggled a little bit the game I was at, game 4. But their bullpen was very, very good, and San Diego's pitching is what ultimately won them the series. I know their offense was good too, especially coming back in games. Trent Grisham was great. Juan Soto was great. But I feel like without that San Diego pitching staff, when you have Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and Josh Hader on the same roster in your pitching staff, that right there is all-star caliber talent. Dangerous. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on it mostly.
Ever since Blake Snell got traded from the Rays to the Padres, I've been, kind of paying attention, and it seemed like for the first year he was struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But, he's been playing really good in the playoffs. I don't know how he did in the regular season. I didn't really pay attention, but I did see, and I think it was game 2, he was lights out. And so you have the Dodgers won game 1, and that was it. The Padres won the next 3 straight to cap off the NLDS win, and it was their first NLDS win in how many years? A long time. That's all I know. I don't remember what year they last won the series, but it's been a long time. That's the fact of the matter. But can we just take a moment to appreciate that it's not the Dodgers making it this far again? Oh my God, such a relief. I think all of America was a Padres fan, and maybe all of America still is a Padres fan for the remainder of the season. Certainly I am. I know I'll certainly pull in for the Padres the rest of the way because I cannot stand the other 3 teams. So nice, got the ice cream.
Yeah.
So now they're on. Now let's just get the ALDS out of the way, just because it was really predictable, and so we had the Cleveland Guardians and the Yankees, and this went a little bit further than I expected it to, but I know it was delayed for a little bit because New York had some inclement weather. I bet they would have really would have liked to have had a dome. Like maybe another team does, so they don't have rain delays or any of that. So, But anyways, exactly. The Cleveland Guardians, they force a game 5, and you're like, oh my God, Cleveland, that's practically America's team right there. Are they going to do this? Are they going to pull it off? Coming into this, I certainly thought that it was a real possibility Cleveland would be swept because they did not look a whole lot better than the Rays did, and the Rays looked atrocious. They were awful in the wild card, and the Guardians were barely better. And so the fact that they pushed the Yankees around to game 5, that's a little bit impressive to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think, man, this series was really weird. Yeah, you talked about the delays, and on top of that, New York really didn't look. I think, going ahead a little bit, I don't think New York, they're a great team, right? But I don't think they necessarily have what it takes right now in the playoffs. Aaron Judge was, aside from the last 2 games, Aaron Judge was pretty horrible in this series. I think he struck out like 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty bad, and their offense did not impress me at all. And I know Cleveland has pretty good pitching. They showed that in the regular season. They showed that in the wild card. But this is the New York Yankees. This is a team that's stacked with all-star talent from top to bottom. And man, the fact that it went to Game 5, even if you're a Yankees fan and you're excited you won, you have to be concerned against the Cleveland Guardians, a team that wouldn't have really even made the playoffs if you maybe as a wild, maybe not as a division winner. If you put them in literally any other division, they're probably not going to win the division. And I just think for Cleveland, it was good while it lasted, but I felt like even while they went to Game 5, I sort of knew right away that the Yankees would win in that winner-take-all situation. I feel like Cleveland kind of choked. They did have good hitting. They did have good moments. Josh Naylor's home run, I know his celebration was controversial, but they had a lot of good moments. And it sucks for Cleveland. I know they probably had high aspirations, but the Yankees are a very good team, and they shouldn't have gotten this close, but to losing. But that's the way it was.
I think we should be accustomed by now to how the Yankees perform in the playoffs. It's, I don't want to speak too early because they are still in it. They're in the Final Four, but we've seen them in this predicament several times over the last decade. They haven't gotten to the big show yet. I mean, 2009 was the last time. How many players are still on that team? Nobody. I don't know. Is Brett Gardner still on the Yankees? Because that was about the only guy that I knew, and so whatever. But it's inevitable. Seeing the Yankees choke in October, it's inevitable. And when the Yankees lose, America wins. You know what I mean? So, all right. Anyways, Astros Yankees in the ALCS, shocker. And then in the NLCS is an actual shocker. It's the Phillies and the Padres, which is the opposite of what was expected. Dodgers and Braves, that was more predictable, but didn't happen. So here we are. It's been a quick stream, but it's hard to keep going for long when there's only 4 teams to talk about. So Phillies, Padres, who you got?
Or before that, did you want to go over the Mariners Astros series? Or
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, let's do it. So quick sweep. I mean, I thought the Mariners were hot in the wild card, and I thought that could carry over. They were scoring a lot of runs, and it almost did. The bullpen. Oh man. But they went up like 8-3 or something at one point in 7-3 I think they were in Game 1 at one point, and then it just turned into an 8-7 final.
Yeah, walk-off home run. Yordan Alvarez.
They were up 7-3 in the top of the 8th.
Jeez.
I mean, that's just man. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow right there for Mariners fans. And then from there on out, you could just kind of sense that, oh boy, that's going to kill their momentum, and kind of did. They fizzled out. Their offense fizzled out pretty badly after that. They lost the next game 4-2 and then got shut out 1-0 to get swept.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks for Mariners fans because it's their year, to be celebrating the playoff drought being broken, and then to lose to a division rival in a sweep. I mean, you could probably relate to that last game. It was very similar. It reminded me of that Rays Guardians game 3, where it was, or game 2 rather, just rather, very close game, 0-0, and it went to 18 innings, I believe.
15.
And then, oh, gotcha. Yeah. And then, the Mariners Astros game went to 18, right?
Did it? Yes, 18.
That's 2 games to get pushed together. And I mean, the Mariners, I didn't think they would beat the Astros, but there was an ounce of hope in my mind when they were leading by so much in game 1. I think the problem was, like you said, their offense was very good in that first game. And then it just, died game 2 and game 3, especially game 3. I mean, they didn't score in 18 innings. That's 2 full games worth of offense. And I mean, it sucks that we're going to have the same ALCS that we did in 2019. The 2 teams that are probably the most hated teams in all of baseball baseball, and you could even make a debate two of the most hated teams in all of sports. And, the Mariners were a team that were sort of America's team this year. A lot of people were rooting for them because they broke that playoff drought. They hadn't been there, to this position in so long. And, it always sucks to lose to a division rival, but man, they choked. They really did. I know it's a sweep, so they didn't blow any game leads, but game one haunted them for the rest of the series.
It did. And we talk about the Astros being a hated team, and I'm going to be real with you. If not for the whole cheating scandal, they could be somewhat likable. Yeah, I could see myself not hating the idea of them winning a championship if not for the whole cheating scandal. If they had just played 2017 cleanly and did the process in a legit fashion, won it legitimately, the only reason people would hate them then is because they would essentially just be the New England Patriots dynasty of baseball. They're so good, they make it to the World Series every year. That's really the only reason people wouldn't have liked them if not for the only reason people hate them mainly is because of that cheating scale. That's why I hate them. That's why I always pray on their downfall, because it's you lose every ounce of respect permanently. You don't earn that respect back after that. That's a permanent. That's a permanent effect from when you do something like that. And so nobody likes the Astros for that reason. Obviously, they're trying to prove that they can win a World Series without cheating. Blah blah blah. It's like you're a good team. Shouldn't have cheated to begin with. Didn't have to. You probably could have won the World Series without cheating, and now you've lost all your credibility permanently. As long as the original players, as long as you have players from that roster still intact, nobody's gonna take you seriously. So, it's just sad.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's going to take me a very long time. But even after they do, get rid of those players eventually that were on the team, they're a division rival to me. So I've always been I'll be honest, I was rooting for the Dodgers in the 2017 World Series. I'm not proud to admit that, because I think rooting for the Dodgers is sort of like rooting for the Yankees, just in the National League. But I think, the Astros not only lost that credibility, but I feel like just something about the Astros, it's the choke factor. I mean, they won 2017 with an asterisk on it. And then, they go to 2019 and they go to 2021 and play in two World Series that they very well could have won. But the fact that they lost, it lingers, that cheating scandal. I feel like when they win a World Series legitimately, people are probably going to forget a lot more about the cheating scandal. But like you said, it's still going to be there until they win a legit title. And, they played two teams that were by no means really better than them in the World Series. The Nationals were sort of a team that had been known for choking in the playoffs. And then 2021, they played the Braves, a team that was good solely because they had great midseason acquisitions, right? So I think the Astros, it's going to be really, really hard if they win this ALCS and see them play a team that they have a better record than, because they, obviously at this point, the American League has automatic home field advantage over the National League in the World Series, because obviously there were two upsets in the NL. But man, yeah, it's going to be hard. And this is a very disappointing ALCS for both of us. I mean, you have a division rival in the Yankees. I have a division rival in the Astros, but I hate the Yankees too. You hate the Astros too. So it's like, there's no good outcome for the American League, right? So,
and a part of me questions myself as to, rooting against the Yankees. It's like, why do I hate them so badly? Is it the salary cap? Certainly the salary cap has something to do with it. The non-existent salary cap, that is, and their fan base being obnoxious, and they're always blowing their 27 rings. But I think to myself, it's like, do I like the Astros more, regardless of the cheating scandal? Just because, is it time for me to accept my fate and just start rooting for the Yankees? And I think about this very deeply and hardly, except, no, not really. Fuck the Yankees forever and always. I will never root for them. I with every ounce of blood in my body, I hate the Yankees, and so I don't like the Astros. I hate them too, solely on the cheating scandal. I don't even care that they've been a mini dynasty or whatever. I don't even care about that. It's the fact that they cheated. But the thing is, I hate the Yankees that much more. You have all this money every year, far more than any other team every year. It's like at least 3 or 4 times the payroll of the Rays. You gave Giancarlo Stanton a contract that was worth more than it cost to build Tropicana Field. How do you expect me to look at you and be like, oh, wow, like, oh, I hope you win? No! You're doing everything in your power to buy yourself a championship, and you can't do it. That's pathetic. That is really pathetic. This is why I pray on your downfall every single year. And Yankee fans can talk all they want about their 27 rings. Well, I got a newsflash for you. You can shove them up your ass, because I guarantee you your grandma was only alive for half of them, if that. So I'm just saying, fuck the Yankees. I'm going with the Astros. And just because I'm going with the Astros, that means the Yankees are probably going to win, because I've been completely wrong all playoffs with my predictions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of reverse psychology, and I'm going to say the Yankees are going to win this series and pray that the Astros end up winning it.
Yeah. In terms of that's a good way of thinking. I didn't think of that. In terms of my prediction, because the Yankees struggled against Cleveland and the Astros are, they're a great team. Like I said, I hate to say it, I'm rooting for the Yankees because similar to you, it's like, okay, like I guess the Astros haven't been as heavy on the payroll as the Yankees have, but I guess for me, they've been a division rival for ever since the realignment, right? And I've hated them ever since. And then the cheating stuff comes out, and it like justifies the hatred even more. So, like I said, I think Houston's going to win this series, in my opinion. I got the Astros in 5, and I know that's a very low number, but man, the Yankees' offense in that Cleveland, yeah, like the Yankees series, the series against the Guardians, their offense did not impress me. And then you put into a fact that the Astros pitching, Verlander, he probably only pitch like one or two games in this series, but man, when he pitches, he is dominant. And then you add in Framber Valdez, you add in their very good bullpen, Ryan Presley. I hate to say it, the Astros, yeah, they're probably going to go to the World Series again, and I think they're going to handle New York pretty easily. I don't know. I don't think it's a sweep. Maybe it'll go to 6, but I got 5.
As much as I hate the idea of the Astros being back in the World Series, I hope to God that they beat the Yankees, because again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, it is in October unless there's a Yankees playoff choke. And so I'm hoping to see it again. I hope you're right. I hope it's 5. Yankees actually lost Game 1 by a final score of 4-2, which happened today at the time of recording. Now, it was kind of hard to record. It was impossible, actually, to record this before the series began due to the delay in New York. So one series started, and the NLCS started before the ALDS ended. So, we had to get a little bit of a late start on this video, but better late than never, right? That's always the saying. So here we are. The Padres and Phillies are 2 games in already, and usually we're never this late on covering a series, but it just had to be done. You're giving us such little leeway when you have the next round starting before the previous round ends. So doing our best here, but the Astros are up 1-0 on the Yankees, and I hope it continues that way, but it's really hard to say. I think the Yankees are a really good baseball team. It's just, can you stop choking for once in your freaking lives? We'll see. We'll see. And then as far as the Padres and Phillies go, the Padres won today 8-5, and it was a little bit of a comeback. They found themselves down 4-0 in the second inning, and they came back to win 8-5, and that's an inspiring thing to see in the playoffs when you have a team who's capable of coming back regardless of the score. And I know Seattle did that against Toronto, but look at where they are now. They're out. You have the Padres here, and they're looking good, but Phillies are also looking good. What was the Game 1 score again?
It was a shutout. It was
2-0. Okay, so here's the thing. It's like the Phillies put up 2 runs. You're going to have your team's best pitchers playing in that Game 1, so it's not very surprising. It's 2-0 or whatever, but both teams have good pitching staffs. Game 2, you had the 8-5 final, and these are just 2 hot offenses. 2 hot offenses. I really think on paper it makes sense that the winner of the Phillies-Padres series will win the World Series. Their pitching staffs are better. They have hotter offenses, at least in my opinion. I know the Astros have a good staff too, but in the NL, it's the Phillies and Padres. These are 2 high-scoring offenses. The Phillies have been damn hot. Yeah, we'll see. Here's the thing with these Final Four teams. Already gone over how much I hate the Astros and Yankees. Now let's talk about the NL side. I don't like Philadelphia either. As a lot of people know, I've visited every MLB stadium over the course of 5 years. One of my least favorites, solely on the fan experience, was Philadelphia. I thought their staff, their fans, I thought they were all a bunch of dicks. And I felt that way about the Eagles a couple of years ago when I went to Arrowhead to watch the Chiefs play the Eagles. And the Eagles fans the entire time were just being obnoxious, disrespectful. But this is a Philadelphia thing. And obviously, there's a little bit of a disliking for me as a Rays fan towards the Phillies. You know, the 2008 World Series happened. You know what I mean? They beat us in the World Series, and so for that reason, I was, I don't even know how old I was, like 8 or 9 years old, but, you know, still salty about it. Doesn't matter how young I was, I'm still salty about it. Just 2008, long time ago, but who cares? It's Philadelphia. I don't like their fan base. I think, obviously every fan base is going to have their bad and their good, but with Philadelphia, it just seems like they're far more bad than good, and you don't like those people. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the Yankees. You don't like those people. I didn't find that with the Astros at all. Like, I think the Astros are mainly, like, mostly a respectable fan base. It's just, the only things that they're annoying about is just bloating their World Series championship from 2017. That's really the only annoying factor. But what am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that I have nothing wrong with the Padres at all. I don't know if you do. You live in California. I'm not from there, so it's hard to say for me. I'm never exposed to Padre fans. I'm never exposed to the Padres as a team. They're on the other coast of the country from where my team is, where I live. It's really hard to judge San Diego's fan base. When I went to San Diego, favorite ballpark of the bunch, by the way, fans were great. The fan experience was great. The staff members were all very respectable people. They are the Cinderella story, in my opinion, of this playoff, because they get past their daddy Dodgers, you know what I mean? I saw this analogy on Twitter that it's like when you beat your dad in a game, in like an arm wrestle for the first time in your life. It's like, oh, finally, like I've overcome, the big dog, whatever, like the father. I've overcome the father. And so that's what the Padres did. Now they're here, and you can't help but to get behind that Padres train, at least in my eyes, as an East Coaster of the Major League Baseball map. Just I'm rooting for the Padres. I'm rooting for the Padres, and because I'm rooting for the Padres, I'm going to say that the Phillies win this series. Let's go.
Yeah, okay, definitely fair. Interesting. I have a connection to Philadelphia, sort of. Both the A's and the Warriors originated there, right? So I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Phillies, but just a point of interest there. In terms of San Diego, like they're just, in California, in Northern California, like before 2020, like I attribute their success with the rebrand, going back to the brown and gold. Like when the blue era of the Padres, like nobody ever talked about them, at least in Northern California, where I'm from. A's, Giants, Dodgers, occasionally Angels were pretty relevant, especially during the playoff years of all those teams. And so I've never had any sort of beef, any sort of problem with the Padres. I'd love to see them win because I went to that game, right? And like you said, their ballpark's beautiful. It has the great skyline view. It's got everything, right? It's modern, and their fans, very passionate. And, so are the Phillies fans in a different way, right? Like the Padres fans are less hostile, like you said. But here's the thing,
Phillies
right?
Fans are passionate in the sense of shotgunning beers off of public dumpsters, jumping off of parking garages into folding tables like they're the Buffalo Bills and whatnot, and just et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, right. So I think this series, like you said, I think the winner of this series definitely has a great chance of winning the World Series. Not only because they'll be in the World Series, but like both teams have refused to lose against very, very good teams, right? The Phillies right now, at the time of filming this, losing one game in the NLCS, have lost 2 games in all of the playoffs. The Padres have lost 3 games in all of the playoffs. That's very, very good when you're considering that the Padres played the second tied for, okay, I guess third best team in the National League, the Mets, and the Phillies played the Cardinals and swept them, one of the better teams in the NL, and then of course beating the second best team in the NLDS, the Braves. I mean, both teams have showed that they are very not only scrappy but like capable of coming back and capable of just kind of putting the team they're playing in the dust. And so I have this series going to 7 games. I know that's sort of a bold take. I know it's hard to predict 7-game series. They really can go either way. But here's the thing. I think San Diego's winning this, and here's why. Their path to getting here has been significantly harder than the Phillies. I know the Phillies had to play the defending World Series champion Braves, who got better over the offseason. They had to play the Cardinals, who are good as well. But the Padres had to play the New York Mets in New York and had to play
New York Mets.
Exactly, 101 win New York Mets, and probably arguably one of the best Dodger teams of all time. The however many games they won, Dodgers, 100 win. And I'm not saying the past necessarily matters here. I don't think you can't really
play the big dogs first, and then your teams that you're facing are downgrading as you move on in the playoffs. They've only played 100-win teams coming into this series, so I feel like with Philadelphia, I don't know what was the record. I have no idea. I did not pay attention to the Phillies whatsoever. Let's see real quick. Phillies standings. Yeah, I mean they had 87 wins. I think the Padres also had 87 wins. No, they had 89. So 2 more wins than the Phillies. So they play the 101 win Mets. Then they play the 111 wins Dodgers, and now they're playing a team that didn't even break 90. So I feel like, but at the end of the day, how much does it matter looking at regular season records? Not really a whole lot, because you look at the Braves of last year, they seemed pretty insignificant heading into the playoffs. I mean, obviously they were coming off of an NLCS appearance, a loss to the Dodgers in the NLCS. They had been kind of lingering around those Final 4, Final 8 spots for a couple of years, so it was like, they'll stay good, but nobody really saw a World Series coming out of that unless you were from Atlanta yourself. But, baseball's weird. So teams that don't seem too significant, they could go on and they could upset you. Look at the Padres, for example. Mets, Dodgers, they gone. Now they play in the Phillies, and we'll just see what happens. Tied at 1 apiece right now, but I guess time will tell.
Exactly, and I think, you can look at the past series, you can look at regular season. Like you said, it's not necessarily significant, but the thing I've admired about the Padres is that it's that refuse to lose mentality. Like, what does that mean exactly? It means being down 3-0 in Game 4 of the NLDS and having to face very, very good pitching on the Dodgers. And what are they doing? They're scoring 5 runs in the 7th inning, and man, that's very hype. That's very exciting. And then of course Game 2 being down 4 to the Phillies, of course. And I think the thing with the Padres is just, doesn't matter how many runs they're down by, they're going to find a way to come back. And it comes with that deep lineup. It's Josh Bell, it's Juan Soto, it's Cronenworth, it's Grisham. Man, I could go on. They have Will Myers. I mean, they have a great lineup. And Philly's good too, but I feel like Philly is sort of more of a surprise. If you told me months ago the Padres would be in the NLCS, I would be surprised, but it wouldn't be as big as a surprise as the Phillies. And that's why the Phillies are so impressive too. I'm not trying to say anything negative about the Phillies. I think they could very well win this series in 7 games too. But I think with the Padres, it's their home field advantage is so significant. I know we're heading to Philly for the next 2 games in this series, but man, this is going to be a great series for the remainder of it. And I got the Padres winning. I hope the Padres win it, but either team they're very similar in their nature. So we'll see what happens.
Padres are unofficially, I'm announcing them now as America's team, so pretty unofficial source, me. But, I'll go ahead and proclaim them America's team for the rest of the playoffs. There's a large pool of people who don't want the Astros to win, a large pool of people that don't want the Phillies to win, and a large pool of people that do not want to see the Yankees win. So, I feel like more than anything, we all saw what happened when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That city was in flames. So, if anything, for the sake of Philadelphia, the city itself, you probably don't want the Phillies to win.
Yeah, definitely.
So, anyways, anything else to wrap it up? Because I think we're pretty much done with these predictions.
No, I think, I hope, our outcomes are National League wins the World Series this year. I don't care who. National League. But I think, like you said, the Padres are America's team right now. They're that California team, them and the Angels, that just haven't been relevant in the 2000s really, except for a couple years here and there for both. But Padres, they I think they can do it. And I think our World Series video is going to be really interesting because it's definitely going to be an overwhelming favorite for the American League, no matter who makes it at this point, right? But we'll have to see what happens. So,
Casey, pleasure doing with this with you one more time. We'll obviously have another one soon when the World Series comes along, but it's been a pleasure so far. Always great to do these with you.
Likewise.
We'll never get bored of doing these. I don't think. Only time will tell which one of us quits YouTube first, which is probably on this pace never. We haven't quit now. It probably won't ever happen, but we'll see. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you, Casey, for joining me again, and we'll see you for the World Series. Peace out.